only because your stare won't ever let me go. I'm here only cause I'm aware with you is better than all alone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into Season 5 of Tuesday Night Thunder, race number 4, as we make another stop at Talladega Superspeedway. Joining me in the booth, as always, co-host Dawson Wise. I'm Austin Green, and you are watching PGR eSports. Dawson, we're getting ready for another good one tonight. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Always feeling good on a Tuesday night, and tonight especially so. A big field for Tuesday Night Thunder tonight. 38 cars on the track. This is shaping up to be a good one.
Yeah, huge field indeed. So with that knowledge, how about we hop right into it and start getting through the starting grid here tonight. The drivers continue to line up. Give us just a moment here. It looks like we are currently dealing with just a few technical difficulties. We'll see if it gets itself sorted out in just a moment. And as we await that, Dawson, you want to go ahead and get our grid kicked off?
Yeah, well, the man on the pole tonight, the reigning champion of Tuesday Night Thunder Season 4, a time of 54.193 seconds. It is Garrett Maines in the one machine. To his outside, making a rare appearance on a Tuesday night. How about the McCullough Motorsports entry of John Mullahan? He'll start from position number 2. Road to the BAR entry of Justin Mills. Rough week for him last week, looking to rebound. To his outside, it's the owner of PGR eSports, Michael Triscaro, in the 34. Row 3. From the Jack Shack, it's Devin Ray in the 85 machine, and Matt Lee of Nightmare Esports to his outside in 6th. Row 4 to be Matthew Baker of NBG Motorsports, looking to continue his dominant start to the season, and his teammate will start to his outside in 8th. That is Jeff Merck. Row 5 will be Ethan Eckert in the 12 machine, a guy that's been on the rise the past several weeks. He rolls from 9th. Chris Walker for the Jack Shack. He rolls from the 10th position. Row number 6, it'll be J.R. Miller of Team PGR, Mark Vondell of McCullough Motorsports. Row 7, the Jack Shack's Trevor Osbornoff, BAR's Richard Elliott in the 00. Row 8, Kenny Brady, welcome to Tuesday Night Thunder. He'll start from 15th. Christian Martinez to his outside in 16th. Row 9, One Stop Motorsports entry, Landon Velicki, and to his outside, PGR's Mike Davenport. Rounding out the top 20, Christopher Carter in the 25, and Chase Mistretta in the 8 for Nightmare Esports. Row 11, Denny Barnes in the 7 for Hyper Motorsports, Brian Bussard in the 27 and 22nd. Row 12, Evan Carlbon had a good look at the Little Guys Series Championship last night. He'll roll from 23rd, and Garrett Caswell will roll from his outside in 24th. Row 13, Mark Math in the 199 and 25th, along with Jonathan Herbert in the 87 for Hyper Motorsports. Row 14, Jared Haynes and Dylan Jones. Row 15, the captain of Hyper, John Ward and Joe Huerta for the Jack Shack. Last 8 cars in the grid tonight, Josh McCullough in the 05 for McCullough Motorsports, with Heat Job in the 760 for Hyper Motorsports. Row 17, Brock Westmoreland in the 4 for Team PGR, Chris McCullough in the 04 for McCullough Motorsports. Row 18, the captain of McCullough Motorsports, Kenny McCullough Jr. and Mitch Regatas. Rounding out the field tonight, Joey Galati in the 661, and Devin Lyons also making a Tuesday Night Thunder debut.
And unfortunately did have to do a full reboot of the system, so all the work that I did pre-race has gone to waste. But hey, it's always got to be something. Nonetheless, we got it up now. We're ready to go. And just before we do, quick brief on your race info here tonight. Same as last week. Only difference is they're at a little bit of a longer racetrack, a little bit wider here at Talladega Superspeedway. Lap 20, or rather at the end of lap 20, will be the stage break. 40% fuel, 60 laps overall, and a top 6 payout here tonight. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We're underway for race 4 at Talladega.
Lap 1 complete, and it is the McCullough Motorsports entry of John Mullahan leading up early on the outside lane, but the bottom side has all the help. Garrett Maines with Justin Mills, and as such, Maines bottom to top, right on the nose of Mullahan. Now they'll stack back up. 5, make it 6, make it 7, make it 10. Deep on the outside lane, all the way back around Christian Martinez, and Garrett Caswell is about where that outside lane ends. And then from Danny Barnes on back, I believe that's Danny Barnes anyway, on back, one of those hypercars is the last car in this line. It actually might be Jonathan Herbert That's the last one technically in this lead draft. Maines, Mills, front row, Mullahan and Ray on the second row. And now you start to see teammates come together. Look up for NBG, 34, 5, 60, 3rd, 5th, 6th on the outside lane. And a couple of other sets of teammates in the field tonight. The Jack Shacks entries currently 2nd, 4th, 5th on the inside. Looking back further in the field for Joe Huerta, who runs back towards the tail end, trying to make his way forward. It's Garrett Maines. Stop me if you've heard this before. Garrett Maines controls the field at the Talladega Superspeedway. As down the backstretch they go, Mullahan will have another go at him, but up top, Matthew Baker for for NBG Motorsports, but now, there they are. There's those 3 NBG cars, 3 wide for the lead.
Big moves early here. The 34, Michael Triscaro, he was not content with being the lead pusher. John Mullahan making a return to the money racing scene for the first time here tonight, but I'm sure it's not going to take him long to knock off that rust. He loves running second all the way through to the end of these races. Oh, man, that's going to put him 4 wide here. That's an awkward spot as the one's trying to keep it together. He's getting pitched. There they go.
No!
That's going to be the first big one of the night. How many will this collect?
Oh, man.
They all scatter everywhere. The zero's got big damage. Mark Von Dell's in it. There's Justin Mills. Actually, I believe that's Jared Haynes, who we see get back up to speed. And then trying to figure out if it was, I think it was Justin Mills. Yeah, sure enough, the first car that we saw go spinning. And, oh, man, Dawson, that's one of those ones that you could just see happening. The second the one got out of shape, got put 4 wide, and, boy, they squeezed each other out of room. I don't know how else to even put it there. And that's 2 weeks in a row now. We've had an early wreck and a big one at that that's taken out a lot of good hitters early on.
And looking back, it kind of started, Triscaro, I'm not sure if he thought he was clear, maybe got a call that he was clear, and drops down, was not. And then in the trial, I mean, there's plenty of room. I know they're 4 wide. I know 4 wide is kind of unorthodox. Well, not really for this side of things, but I mean, 4 wide, you should be able to get through the trial. It's the widest part of the racetrack. For some reason, Mullahan, Maines, and Mills run right into each other, and that sparks a big accordion effect, and they go scattering here across the front stretch. And I mean, name who's not involved here. Von Dell, Davenport, let's see, the Richard Elliott machine, Baker, Merck, Triscaro, Mullahan. We'll see if Heath Job escapes this. J.R. Miller's got some damage. I mean, this is a lot of really good cars. We barely made lap 4. So, man, what a tough break for some of these guys early, and especially because no fast repair tonight. Oh, man, behind the 8 ball already, and it's all because of a bit of a miscommunication. But then, I don't know, almost a rookie mistake there, 4 wide.
Yeah, certainly a bit of a rookie mistake this early on. Now, what I was wondering if that initial move from Michael Triscaro, you saw his teammate, Matthew Baker, trying to push him to the lead. He's pretty offset to the right while he's pushing, and it wasn't a big move from Triscaro down low, or excuse me, I guess I should say kind of to the left, if you will, but that slight movement almost looks to me like maybe it was a result of that slightly offset pushing to the right. And, you know, granted, if they're 2x2 with a little bit more space, maybe there's no issues, but I mean, they're already 3 wide, not much room there. And then you could certainly see once they got 4 wide, they really couldn't seem to find much room for each other. As Mullahan, you know, in fairness to him, he's keeping a line here. He's trying to side draft Garrett. I don't know if he doesn't realize they're 4 wide, but then Garrett starts to get squeezed, and then Mills maybe just bobbles up a little bit. But overall, it's just, they all just kind of run each other out of room. And you said it, Dawson. Once they did, man, just nowhere to go for a lot of good race cars. Mills definitely still getting the worst of it, though, but I see a couple others that are going to have race-ending damage. And as you also said, mentioning that no fast repair again here this week, it's been interesting to, I think, both of us up here over the last couple weeks to still see how aggressive everybody's been at the start of these races, knowing that. I mean, that's not something new, yet we continue to see guys try to make these, I don't want to say make these crazy moves because that's not what caused it, but just kind of be this aggressive this early on. And sometimes you don't have to necessarily do anything wrong. And we know that at these super speedways, hard racing can lead to these big wrecks, and that's what leads to the first caution here tonight.
Yeah, now I will say the move by NBG I thought was pretty textbook for them. That's pretty normal for that group. I mean, I think by now everybody understands that NBG, when they're not on the front row, when they're not qualified up front, they're going to get to the front. They're going to do everything they can to kind of push the envelope, not too much, but enough to get at least 1 guy, maybe 2 guys clear. And right there, again, completely textbook. It looked just like it always does, but for some reason that time, the push was a little bit off center. Then they kind of ran each other out of room 4 wide, and just a very uncharacteristic mistake for this early in the race. But I don't know, the NBG move to me wasn't over aggressive. To me, it was pretty textbook for what those guys like to do, and just there, a bit of a miscalculation.
Indeed, and I was looking back here at a couple more replays, trying to see if anybody had a close call but was able to actually sneak through this one, and I think Garrett Caswell was one of those drivers that had that exact thing happen here. Now, we're going to go back and take an onboard view, but I believe, as long as he didn't make any contact here at the end of our replay, that he did sneak through. Yes, he did, so that's a really nice piece of driving from Garrett Caswell, who's already up 17 positions as a result of missing that incident. Boy, man, that's a lot of smoke and debris flying around, and sometimes as a driver, that kind of makes you panic, but Garrett does a really good job of staying nice and calm right there, makes it through the wreck, and look at this, Dawson, on the front stretch here. We got a little bit of bump drafting going on. Not sure exactly what happened there, trying to get one of the cars back up to speed. I wonder if that was that potentially Landon Velicky? Yeah, I think it was in the 62 here. He was getting a little bit of a push from Evan Carlbahn, and so he's got it together, whatever the case may be, and we're going to get ready to go back green here shortly. Lights still on the pace car, but back up front, we've got Devin Ray leading for the Jack Shack. Garrett Maines in second. Chris Walker third. Trevor Oswald fourth. Jeff Merck currently rounds out your top five.
Yeah, the Jack Shack made out like bandits right there. They kind of got all away from that wreck and now run 1, 3, and 4 on the racetrack. I mean, what better way than for the field to kind of part the seas to part in front of you, and all of a sudden you look up, you're leading the race. So a really great spot for the JSR group right now in an early portion of this race. All three guys want to have good runs tonight, and that's a good way to start, is missing the initial wreck. They now run first, third, and fourth. They will have to contend with Garrett Maines on this restart, though, and he looked awfully aggressive early on.
Yeah, he certainly did. We're taking a look now at the driver cam for Matthew Baker. You see he just made his way out of the pits, and boy, that car's still not looking too great. You can tell he got as much damage as he could fix, but still a lot more that needs to get repaired on that race car if it's going to have any competitive chance here tonight. But we have seen this before. Another thing that we saw as a product of the early wreck last week, Dawson, I guess I should say a byproduct, was some of the cars, I think, back to Ken McCullough Jr., that were actually able to recover much better than we initially expected, simply due to the fact that everybody else kept getting involved in wrecks. We had more cautions and allowed the drivers involved early to fix that damage by the end of the race. Here's the other driver cam that we have here tonight, the 34 of Michael Triscaro. Good looking paint scheme on that car. He's got the Intimidator Superspeedway Series logo on the hood, but again, similar to his NBG teammate Matthew Baker, he's still got some damage that he's going to need to get cleaned up. All right, here we go, back up front. It looks like Garrett Maines is getting ready to get in a 2x2 formation with Devin Ray as they get ready to line back up. And we'll see if it's the 25, Chris Carter, who actually lines up on the outside. It should be Garrett. And sure enough, the one car is waiting to see what the lane choice is going to be. So, yep, he'll move up to the top lane. And that is going to push the 23 of Chris Walker up to that second row. And then Trevor Oswald as well. And with this wreck early, Dawson, I mean, I feel like we ask it every week, and we always get contradicted no matter what we say. But do you think maybe they calm down a little bit?
I say yes every week, but the stage points are so valuable in the next 14 laps. You got to get yourself in a spot to do that. And for, you know, a guy like Devin Ray, a guy like Garrett Maines, a guy that's up here, you got to be willing to do a little bit more than usual to control the lanes and make sure you're in a spot to win the stage. Get your maximum bonus of 5 points, because later on in the season, they build up awfully quickly in terms of regular season standing, in terms of, you know, how much bonus you get when we get to the playoffs for stage wins, and then eventually for race wins as well. So those build up. The stage points mean a lot, and as such, I just don't think they're going to calm down until after the break. We'll see, though. An early wreck typically turns these guys away from racing hard for at least a few laps.
Yeah, it certainly does. And just before we go green here, another thing I kind of want to touch on is, you know, I know me and you, Dawson, we've both been around the money racing community for a fair amount of time here, but once in a while there's always something new that you just kind of notice. And the thing that I've noticed over the last couple weeks has been the expansion of two kind of the newer teams, if you will, and that is, of course, the Jack Shack and then OSM, One Stop Motorsports. And I've noticed a couple of the cars that the Jack Shack has added recently. I think Chris Walker maybe being the newest addition, and then, of course, Ryan Bass back a little while ago. But then One Stop Motorsports, which seems to be, again, kind of a relatively new team. They've got a pretty stacked roster as they've expanded to, I believe, 3 or 4 drivers now. And some of the big names on that team, of course, being Landon Velicky. He's the first driver that comes to mind. They've got Jared Haynes and a few others. So a lot of strong teams and a couple of new teams. They're going to be looking to make a statement here tonight.
Yeah, always fun to see new teams on the scene and start to find their footing and then start to find success. And both of those teams have started to do so. And, well, at least for the Jack Shack, they're in control of this race right now. And as such, one of those entries, Jack Shack driver Devin Ray brings us into the restart zone. Green flag is out on lap number 8. Now you'll notice about 8 rows deep in the field singles out for a long way back there, snaking back towards that 38th position. That's because a lot of guys came back to pit road to top off just to play a little extra strategy game and also just to calm the race down just a little bit in the early stages as the stage break approaches. But up front, nowhere close to calm. Big push outside. Here comes Garrett Maines, but right now the help is situated on the bottom in behind. Devin Ray leads the field halfway down the back straightaway.
Garrett Maines with a push now from Trevor Osmouth. He's looking to get back up there, and how about on the outside? Making a move. I initially thought that was maybe a jump out of line by Joey Galati to go to the front, but instead, it looks like he's trying to go to the back. He doesn't like what he sees right now, as you saw 3 wide even further back on the outside. That was the 8 of Chase Mastretta. And remember, Chase had one of his season-best finishes last week, and he's been on a tear pretty much since the start of the season. Had a podium last week, looking to do more of the same here tonight. And he's got himself a good point standing, so keep an eye on the number 8 Chevy Camaro for RMR eSports. We'll see what he can do as the season continues on. Still 2x2 as they drag race up the banking into turn number 1. But right now out in front, Garrett Maines gets the advantage. Trevor Osmouth still looking for a push from Garrett Caswell. Dylan Jones and John Ward have now joined the help on the outside as well.
And Garrett Maine's got to be careful here. You got to be looking in the mirror and judge where that 89 is, because 2 of his teammates on the bottom at that top lane continues to falter a little bit, and these 2 cars on the bottom get clear. They're going to jump on the nose of Osmouth. They're going to hang Garrett out to try to bury him on the inside lane. For now, though, Caswell and company going to come back to him, and Maines is going to control the lane. A little bit of an offset push there from Trevor Osmouth to Garrett Maines, but everybody gets through it okay. It allows Devin Ray, Chris Walker, some air on the bottom side. Allows Osmouth to push his line forward just a little bit more. Again, Dylan Jones, we talked about it last week, the guy who typically waits a while, well, not waiting tonight. Plus 21 and already inside the top 7. Top side, the 4th and final Jack Shack entry. Joe Huerta leads a bit of a convoy up against a safer barrier about 8 rows deep in the field.
And they're going to pick up another car here. That's the 25 of Christopher Carter. He's going to get a big push from that Toyota Supra of Joe Huerta down the Alabama gang back straightaway. Not going to be enough to get any momentum generated yet, but they've got 4 cars. That's enough to make something happen here. They're going to have to stay committed, as you see Kenny Brady in the 35. He blinks around just a little bit as they work through 3 and 4. But up front, Garrett Maines had finally gotten that opportunity to jump up. That's going to allow Devin Ray to cool down a little bit. And now Trevor Osmouth has job of the lead pusher, Garrett Caswell. He'll get a chance to cool down as well. And here comes the 92, the captain for Hyper Motorsports, John Ward, now leading that 3rd lane, which is drawn even with Dylan Jones.
3rd lane all of a sudden has a ton of go. Kenny Brady, well, he thought about it. He jumps out of the line at 35, car about halfway back. Michael Triscaro's going to pick up the top lane. Well, now he and Brock Westerlund, they're kind of hesitating, thinking better of it. Devin Ray out from behind Garrett Maines. Quick move off turn number 2 and up onto the bumper of his teammate Trevor Osmouth. And now it's Jack Shack 1-2 in the middle lane. Ray will lead, but here comes John Ward. He'll draw to the elbow of Devin Ray here, the quarter panel in turn 3.
Hold on to it, Garrett. Not going to do it.
Well.
Oh, man, that's going to be another big hit. Oh, man. Oh, we got one upside down. Looks like he was able to get back on all 4, but man, I mean, what do you even say? It's just, man, another big incident here with just 12 of 60 laps complete, and the night goes from bad to worse for Michael Triscaro. Caught up in both of these wrecks, and both of them heavy damage. You see right here, he's going to throw the gloves off. He's had enough for the night, as he'll hit the tow button, and I almost can't blame him, Dawson. That's frustrating as a driver for any of these guys involved in that one. That looked similar to what we had last week, and due to some of the issues that we had at the start of the race, not getting to check everything. In fact, we'll go back live. This is one thing we didn't talk about, which was track temp here tonight. 117, that's not too hot. However, it's still hot enough where, maybe causes a couple of handling issues on old tires. The problem was, we really weren't on that old of tires yet here, but man, you could just see Garrett start to bobble a little bit here through 3 and 4, and the bobbling only got worse until the back end finally gave out on him, went around, and from there the rest is history. But back this up and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Watch this 48 car in the middle groove here, and as they get into the corner here, he did have a little bit of left rear damage. That doesn't play any role here. Notice just the car just starts to get loose on him, Dawson, and then he just starts chasing it. I mean, realistically speaking, for them to be 3 wide, there was nobody technically near him when that happened, and then eventually chases it up into the 25, gets into him. That sends him down into Jeff Merck, and then from there, the wreck's on. The 48's going to lose it again. Jeff Merck, he's trying to hold on to it in the apron, and now everybody's scattering to miss it, and that was a couple of big hits from Michael Triscaro, who almost went upside down. That car flipped back over right at the last second.
Yeah, tough break for Triscaro, and look, it's kind of similar to what we've seen, and I'm almost beginning to wonder if it's more of a car issue than it is a track temp issue in terms of this Xfinity Series car. Since that update about a month ago now or so, just before the SummerSlam 499, it really, even the track temp, it affects it to a degree. It makes it a little bit worse, but we've still seen guys on a little bit older tires, really, even on 10 lap tires like we were right there. If you overcompensate on corner entry, if you don't just set that car on the banking and then kind of let it settle before you get to the middle of the corner, it snaps. All of a sudden, it's out of your hands, and it snaps so quick, there's not much you can do to drive out of it, and I think that's what happened there. He just overcompensated a little bit. Maybe he started to wash up towards that top lane. Maybe they pinched down a little bit quicker than he was anticipating, and as soon as you tick that wheel to the left just a little bit extra, the car starts to slide around. Unfortunately, again, very hard to drive out of, and that's a tough break for Caswell and Michael Triscaro, Mark Math, and Dylan Jones, who we just talked about. And that sometimes is the punishment for going against your own strategy. Jones caught up in one right there.
Yeah, we know he likes to play it safe till the end, but fortunately not able to do it that time. Good news for a couple of drivers that, of course, made it through that one. This is the onboard view, by the way, with Richard Elliott, and watch this from it start to finish pretty much. I mean, for Richard Elliott, this takes a little bit more. I mean, there's a lot of skill involved. I mean, maybe some slight contact there with the right front, but I would say all things considered, he escaped that one very, very lucky to not get much damage, as even Merck had to save it there at the last second. If he would have hooked back right, that probably would have been race ending damage for Richard Elliott. And then we take one more look at this here from the blimp cam, and I mean, both wrecks tonight, they've happened in such a vulnerable portion of the field. In this case, the first wreck was 3 wide. It started up front. This one 3 wide right in the middle of the pack. And when that happens here, they don't just wash out of the way, right? They're going to come back up the track, and that's usually when everybody gets collected here. And there's that slight contact for Richard Elliott and the big hit for Dylan Jones. And then Michael Triscaro got kind of wedged into the wall, and then Mark Math hits him as he's kind of starting to come back down from getting wedged. And man, that is a massive, massive hit for Michael Triscaro. Joey Galati gets tagged right there at the end, and then looks like everybody else was able to go on their merry way unscathed, but it'll be 14 laps complete here. We'll see if we get the one-to-go signal, and looks like we indeed do, and that's going to set us up here for a 6-lap shootout to the stage.
Yeah, now it's kind of sitting in the back of your mind as a driver. You've had 2 wrecks in the first 13 laps of the race, and now it's sitting in the back of your mind, okay, is it going to be one of those nights? And they happen every now and then where just nothing can go right. It's not really on the drivers. It's just kind of a victim of circumstance type of deal where you just have a night where there's wreck after wreck after wreck. And now these guys here at the front, really all throughout the field, but these guys at the front are now thinking, okay, we've had a couple now inside the top 10. Is this just going to be a pattern tonight? What can we do to fix it? It's definitely sitting in the back of your mind, especially knowing if you thought the racing was a little bit frisky right there, a little bit too aggressive right there, just wait. Because now we're entering the final 6 laps of the stage, desperation mode for guys to get stage points. It's just going to go up from here until the break. So it's sitting in your mind as a driver, but you also have to realize, I got to go get stage points too.
Absolutely. And while we have a quick chance, I know we try not to get too off topic here normally during the broadcast, but I do want to kind of mention the fact, and I'm curious what you think on this, Dawson, and if anybody in the chat has any thoughts. Noticed this past week in officials, and I feel like I've kind of noticed this trend happening in past weeks in officials, specifically at the super speedways, where, I mean, we get wrecked in just about every race we do, it seems like, and it almost seems like the mindset for a lot of these different iRacers at super speedways is turning into, if you don't win the race, you need to just completely wreck the car. There's no in between. And the reason I mention that is because we don't see a lot of that here. We see wrecks due to racing incident, but overall just something that I kind of noticed, and it's almost upsetting because we get to see the greatest racing here in the money racing scenes, and just fortunate to not see it translate out into officials anymore.
Yeah, it could be. I'll admit I'm not the heaviest official racer in terms of how many I do, but I did some this past week, and I did notice a similar trend, just throwing out moves that you're a little bit too aggressive, just thinking, all right, well, if I don't get to the lead, at least I'm going to wreck, and then I can move on, snap and clear, go to the next one. So I completely agree. I think it's a pattern, and it's concerning for sure. Green flag back in the air on lap 15, 6 to go in the stage. Jack Shack teammates off to a good run on the outside. Maines and Walker awaiting their help on the bottom. Actually, all 4 Jack Shack machines are now inside the top 6 on the racetrack. Great run for that team early on, and now looking to score 4 cars worth of stage points. Bottom will surge, but not for long. Ray, Osmernoff, Eckert, and Josh McCullough welcome to the front of the field off 2.
As they drag race down the Alabama gang back straightaway, the outside's lined up a little bit better. 4-car tandem versus a 3-car tandem on the bottom. It's not quite going to be enough, it doesn't look like, to get Devin Ray clear, but Garrett Main's going to have to give a little bit of a side draft there before they dove down into turn number 3. Further back, looks like Ken McCullough Jr. He's now starting to make his way to the front of the field. He dropped to the inside in front of the 27 of Brian Bassard. And then Richard Elliott is trying to get enough momentum to get up to the back of Joshua McCullough. And boy, that's tough to do sometimes, Dawson, especially in these Xfinity cars where even if you have just a little bit of damage, oh man, that was a big move up front. Wow, Trevor Oswanoff almost got in a bad spot. Now we got another one bailing off on the inside below the apron here. Well, never mind the help from Richard Elliott right now. He didn't have a chance to make it there before we had that near incident, as that's Christopher McCullough in the 94 who had to dive off to get it gathered up and get back up to speed. So we'll keep our attention back up front now where Garrett Maines gets a push. He'll take the lead as they try to reorganize up front.
Yeah, it's a good move by Garrett Maines. Oswanoff turns left. Maines blocks it. Oswanoff back to the right off Garrett Maines. Oh, man. Oh, this looks... I'm not going to say premeditated, but oh man, this is a little bit more aggressive than I'd anticipated. Maines and Oswanoff throwing a couple haymakers here on lap 16. It may go back to the incident, I believe, on, was it Friday night, last week, Sunday night, one of the two. An incident between those two. Not sure if there's anything that went into that, but that was awfully aggressive at the front. We escaped another big moment. 4 to go in the stage. Ethan Eckert saying, hey, can we pick a lane, please? I'm just trying to push on the outside.
And if you notice, when we worked down the front stretch that last lap, Ken McCullough Jr., he hopped out of line. Another driver that I think figured, you know what, I think I've seen enough for now. The stage points aren't worth it enough. And for some drivers, it's worth more than others. Again, it doesn't pay anything specifically in terms of money. However, it does pay in terms of stage points, and we know how important those can be once we get closer towards the end of the regular season for not only the drivers fighting for the regular season championship, but also for drivers who are trying to sneak into the playoffs and maybe come within a couple points shy of being right on that cut line. So as they stay 2x2, they're going to stay aggressive, and I think if you're Jack Shack, you have to, because you said it, Dawson. Look at the amount of cars they've got up front. They've got the top 3 on the bottom swept. Trevor Oswanoff second up top, and they have an opportunity here to potentially fight for a 1-2-3 for the Jack Shack in stage 1.
Well, maybe, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think if their cars in the right order here, they're certainly going to try to at least get all 4 cars in the stage points here, and that would be an incredible flex of muscle early in this race that we, I won't say haven't seen from that group, but on Tuesdays we haven't really seen it from that group yet. But don't look now. Outside lane, it's coming and coming in a hurry. Former teammates Jeff Merck, Matt Lee, Josh McCullough jumps out there. Christopher Carter is out there. Further back, Kenny Brady thought about it. I think he's going to fade. So too is Matt Lee now. And now all of a sudden the momentum, the energy gone from that top lane. What can Merck, McCullough, and Carter do? They're not really together, so I don't know how much they'll be able to do, but McCullough wants to challenge for the lead, and as such, he's kind of stalled out that middle lane led by Trevor Oswanoff.
And it's a good time for this third lane to be forming because you know they're getting a little bit toasty on the bottom and the top. Oswanoff, of course, with a chance to cool here, and I think Eckert's trying to set up in case he has to push here on that final lap. He wants to have enough temps to push Trevor Oswanoff all the way. Garrett still gridlocked on the bottom, but he's almost clear back up to jump in front of the 89. He's not going to do it yet, and here comes Joshua McCullough as the one will get clear off of turn 2.
Oh, perfectly timed by Garrett. This is probably going to keep that line up top pinned just a little, although Oswanoff's leaning to the right, telling Garrett to go back down. And again, in no uncertain terms, so saying, hey, get out of the way. I want to keep the run going and lead the lane and have the advantage for myself. I think they might have done enough. Garrett's trying to come up again. I think if he comes up again, Oswanoff may take a look at the split. Merck trying to split 4 wide as well. A couple guys maybe not happy with the guys they're pushing right now as Oswanoff leads us back to the stage. White flag.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not going to have to worry about it now because he gets clear of the bottom, and he's going to be saying, I think I'll just stick down here. Gary, you can do a little bit of pushing for now as Ethan Eckert will get a chance to cool in the middle, and I think this will now officially probably kill that third lane, unless, of course, Jeff Merck has enough attempts to get pushing, and he needs to get pushing right away. Oswanoff's still clear, but he's not going to jump back up top yet. Now he does. Look, and he's got to be careful. He almost gets split. Eckert has to make a decision. He stays with the 89. They're going to let out back.
In the middle of the field. Matt Lee also around. Another car. Jeff Merck blows the front end off. Caution flag is out. Garrett Maines wins stage 1.
And that started with some hesitation from the 89, caused some stacking up. And then from there, the wreck kind of got sparked. There's Chase Mastretta, Chris Walker trying to get back up to speed. Can't tell yet just how bad their damage is. And then we'll see some of the others that were involved in this once we go back. I believe Evan Carlbon may have either took a detour through the grass or potentially got some damage as well here. The 71 doesn't look to be too bad. And then, of course, Chase Mastretta, the other driver that we talked about, we just saw in this incident. Well, we pretty much, I would say, had an idea of where this one started. We saw it up front with Trevor Osrenoth here in the 89. Dawson, for me, this is a tough choice. I don't know if I go back up here because Garrett had been leading so long that realistically, I think he had attempts to push the entire way, but maybe he felt more comfortable with this 12 or maybe just thought there was going to be enough of a run. I'm just not sure here, but he goes up, he's clear. And then, I don't know if Eckert just was hoping that Trevor would stay up there. I think Trevor was trying to duck back down a little bit lower to kind of encourage them to stay low and side draft. I'm not sure, but you can see that the 89 stays about half a lane lower, and as he does, Ethan Eckert has to check up to readjust himself, and then out back, I think all the chaos from that initially sparks some of the issues that we see here with Chris Walker. Let's actually go back here to the 23, and again, that is one of the Jack Shack drivers. Watch here as there's a checkup. Richard Elliott starts to come back down after the checkup, and then Matt Lee has to get on the brakes. Kenny Brady just tags him. That sends him into the 23, and then it's on from there as Walker gets back up into Richard Elliott. That's a pretty big hit for Jeff Merck. You talk about it blowing the front end off of that race car, and that was not good news for any Jeff Merck fans, and certainly not really good news for Chris Walker either, but I think Matt Lee may have gotten away from this one okay. Chase Mastretta got a little bit of damage. And then, Matt Lee actually did get the front end ripped off, so he's got pretty significant damage as well.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of hesitation, and I'll tell you this much. In officials this week, going back to kind of the Daytona week of official racing, I did some racing in this car, and what I noticed is that unlike previous weeks, the car was getting hot really fast, especially on your water temp. I mean, it was a lap, maybe a little more, and you are already pushing the limits of, okay, is the engine going to come out from under me here when I'm trying to push? So maybe Trevor had that in the back of his mind. Maybe he's thinking, okay, I don't know if Garrett can get all the way back around. Can he push me all the way back around? Because remember, these races, we're getting hot after about a lap and a quarter, conservatively, on an 80-degree track. That was a night race, 80-degree track. It was pretty cool. 117-degree track, temps are rising faster. You probably don't have a lap in you, so they've kind of shortened the time before these cars get hot. And I almost wonder if Trevor kind of had that in the back of his mind, but he did make the move a little bit late.
Certainly a possibility. As I want to go to the onboard view here with the 71 for Evan Karlbaum. Boy, this was a really close call. He made the decision to dive low, and it did work out for him, but man, for a split second, you started to wonder if it was going to be the right decision here. Watch this. We'll back it up here. We're going to go to the onboard view for Karlbaum. And I mean, this is as a driver where you commit and you just hope that it works out. Before we actually play it all the way here, let's switch to the cockpit view and take a look and take a listen. Man, boy, it does not get much closer than that. I mean, he made the right decision. If he goes on the outside here, he probably ends up in the wreck. But when they shoot back down, he's got to steer even lower. And now he's trying to get the car slowed up enough. Doesn't want to go straight back up on the track. Has to go through the grass. And Dawson, I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people think it's easy to save the car once you kind of get clear because you're on that pavement, but it gets bumpy when you get down closer to that wall, and when the car's hopping around, you can't scrub off speed nearly as quick. So again, that was a phenomenal save from Evan Karlbaum.
Yeah, there's a lot of bumps right there before that grassy area in turn 3. It's a particularly tough place to save the car, and unfortunately right there, well, fortunately for Evan Karlbaum, he's able to hold on to it. And a great job of driving right there. Some strategic moves here right before we go back green, though. Bunch of pit stops here with 1 to go as guys look towards fuel mileage now in stage 2.
Back up front, it's Garrett Maines leading the way with Brock Westmoreland in 2nd, Devin Ray 3rd, Jonathan Herbert 4th, and Kenny Brady currently rounding out your top 5. You mentioned again, Garrett is your stage 1 winner, so he continues that trend, Dawson. You remember last week he got the stage win, and then he got the race win, so who knows, maybe he can do back-to-back here tonight, but well, we have the chance here since we are at the stage break. Let's hop over and take a look at what the payouts are looking like here tonight. These do stay pretty much the same most weeks based off of, I believe it was 30 to 35 entries. Doesn't matter because we had over that tonight. So these payouts are going to be at minimum what it says on the poster, maybe even a little bit more. You can see it's 142 to the winner, 103 to 2nd, 97 to 3rd, 95 to 4th, 80 to 5th, and 63 to 6th. And then $120 going to go towards that championship pot, which, you know, really, Dawson, for anybody that tunes in week to week, maybe they're like, well, those payouts don't seem all that great considering it was a $25 entry, but they're not bad. And then you stack on top of it the fact that if you're one of the drivers that makes it deep in the playoffs or even, you know, wins the regular season championship and wins the championship, I mean, man, I think you'd be looking at potentially upwards of, what, almost $1,500 to $2,000 that you can make just from that, minus whatever you win in individual race payouts.
Yeah, it absolutely makes it worth it. Some big payouts on the line. That's kind of why you see guys race for stage points, guys race for playoff points, guys want to rack up regular season awards and then obviously have more of a chance in the playoffs to get to that championship pot. It's why every race matters. It's why every finishing position matters. It's why really every stage can matter too. If you're a guy that harvests stage points, it's going to reap benefits for you later in the year and may even let you walk away with a pretty nice payday when all is said and done.
And with stage 1 complete here, the pace car is going to make the left turn this time, and we will get stage 2 officially underway. And stage 2, of course, is going to be the final stage here. It'll be a race all the way to the checkered here if we don't have any cautions, and potentially a couple green flag stops as well. Now, we've already seen 3 cautions in the first 20 laps, so I think if I'm a driver right now, Dawson, I'm a little bit more concerned about track position, but who knows? We're getting ready to find out. Here we go. Field back in the hands of Garrett Maines and Brock Westmoreland as they work into the restart zone. Green flag is back in the air at Talladega.
And a good start bottom side. Maines, Ray, Brady all in line top side. The help gets going a little bit, but it's going to take a second for it to get to the back bumper of Brock Westmoreland. That's Jonathan Herbert, Christian Martinez, John Ward, Danny Barnes. So all of a sudden, how about the Hyper contingent? Heath Job as well. So as we saw the 4 Jack Shack cars towards the front earlier, now the Hyper Motorsports machines are towards the front as well. All 4 that I see right now are inside the top 10 as the field works down towards turn 3. And right now, here comes Brock Westmoreland. He wants the lead. He'll get it as they climb the banking.
And how about Kenny Brady? You knew it was only going to be a matter of time before you saw his name towards the front of the field. He's almost broken into the top 5. He's 3rd on the inside as he runs just in front of the pink and black 7 of Danny Barnes for Hyper Motorsports. On the outside, though, they're going to get a big run here. Oh, Brock, got to be careful. He dove down there, and I think maybe that was just ducking for a little bit of air right there for Jonathan Herbert, but for a minute I thought they were getting ready to split the 4, and now you see the 1. I think that's Aubrey Thompson ducking out for a little bit of air as well, and excuse me, that's not Aubrey Thompson here. Actually, that's Christian Martinez in that 1 car, making a return here tonight, and it looks like he's joined a team 2 in BAR, and so they'll add another driver to their arsenal as Joe Herta is going to look 3 wide now down the back.
Yeah, Herta jumps out. Here comes Walker, his teammate. Anybody else going to bite? Not right now, only those 2 cars. So for now, they're the only 2 to test it. Kind of surprised, a couple of guys further back. Landon Veliky, JR Miller didn't jump out as well, but they're going to hang tough in the middle and just hold on for now. The Hyper cars maybe thinking about it, but they drop back down in line as well. So not sure how much they're going to be able to make up top. They're right now just alongside Heath Joe, but they're starting to pick up some energy. 26 on the board, 35 to go. And now here they come. Jack Shack cars making it work with 2. They're going to need some more help if they want to get all the way to the front, though.
Yeah, 2 cars enough to maybe stay even, make a little momentum if that lane just below you has some checkups. But in terms of making it all the way to the front, I agree. They're going to need at least a 3rd car, maybe a 4th. They want to make that happen. Right now, it's still just the 2 teammates, and it might be a little early. That may be the reason that we're not seeing anybody else jump out just yet. As you see Joe Herta, boy, he has to work that steering wheel a lot, even down the straightaway. And that's another thing, Dawson, that I feel like a lot of people don't realize is how much you work the wheel here. It's not as simple as once you get into the corner, you just hold the wheel left. No, you're constantly working it, and then once you get on the straightaways, you're trying to predict when that push is coming from the car out back, because remember, usually when you get hit, it has a tendency to kind of steer your car one way just a little bit. So if you can see that driver in your mirror, see which way they're just slightly offset, you can kind of try to predict which way you're going to need to turn the wheel just a little bit to kind of counteract that push.
Yeah, you're definitely solid on these cars for sure in the cockpit. I mean, you can tell when we look at onboard shots, these guys are back and forth on the wheel. These are not easy to drive. As easy as they may make it look, it's definitely not easy. And you can tell by some of those moves. And I'll tell you what, look at that pair up top. They did get all the way to the leaders. Huerta and Walker got even now to the elbow of Garrett Maines, but not any further than that. That's as far as they're going to be able to get. Now they're going to need an extra car. Martinez going to jump out again. Kenny Brady starting to work his way up. Ray thought about a block. No dice. Kenny Brady, for the first time in his career, will lead a lap in Tuesday Night Thunder as he'll get a push to the line from Garrett Maines.
And look who's jumped out to assist that 3rd lane, the 55 of Mike Davenport, the former Little Guys Series champion. He's going to see if he can aid this 23-1 all the way to the front. As, ooh, man, Joe Herta got a little bit of a push there from his teammate into the corner, and, man, that car got really, really unstable for just a brief second. And as he holds on, Kenny Brady goes to the lead up front. Garrett Maines trying to get a push now from Brock Westmoreland. Here comes the third lane. They're going to get more help as now the 89 of Trevor Osmanoff moves up, as does, looks like, I believe that's Joey Galati in the 661.
All of a sudden, 3x3, 5 rows deep, not listening to our advice and calming down after the break, instead going the other way. They're making it more aggressive after the stage break. The pushing's starting to get more aggressive as well. Kenny Brady just took a huge shot from Garrett Maines, is able to keep the car underneath him. Now Brock Westmoreland smartly starting to give some space. Brady trying to keep Huerta pinned. Big push up top again. Brady, will he drop back to the bottom of the racetrack? He's trending. Yes, there he goes. But now, look at how separated the middle is. Prime opportunity here for the top to potentially get something going. Here's the Jack Shack cars lineup. 1, 2, 3 up against the safer barrier.
Problem was they're not quite organized yet either. You can see Trevor Osmanoff still trying to get to the back bumper of his teammate Chris Walker. And by the time they do so, you can see Davenport, he is now lined up. But it is interesting to see a lot more drivers starting to single file down to the inside. I'm not sure if they just don't like what they're seeing or if maybe there's a little bit of fuel saving going on here. You figure we went back green with about 23 laps or so complete. In terms of 40% fuel, I would say maybe 16 laps or so. So I don't know, Dawson. I mean, do you see any fuel strategy that can be made at this point? I don't think I do.
I think we went green on lap 24. Realistically, again, a 40% tank is about 16 laps. I don't see any way you could stretch that out. You'd have to stretch it to about, let's see, lap probably, what, 42, I guess? And I just don't see any way you can go 18 laps on one tank of fuel, even if you're running 8th, 9th, 10th in line. I just don't see any way you can stretch it that far. Maybe you can go an extra couple laps, but if you make it to 42, this becomes a really interesting fuel mileage race for sure because you can make it on one stop.
Yeah, it certainly does. And now they quickly all get back down to a 2x2 formation. That helps kind of extend this outside line. As you can see, that long single file line broken up a little bit. And, ooh, Christopher Carter here. He's going to bring it down for a pit stop. Not sure what the deal is for the 25 here. He is not currently on the lead lap. So you wonder if maybe he tried to stay out to hope for a quick caution and just needs to go in for some fuel. I'm not sure what the case is, but, ooh, one really slow up here on the top with heavy damage. As I believe, is that Jeff Merck in the 60? Yes, it is. Boy, that car doesn't look like it was able to get many repairs when he got it fixed, Dawson, but he was still able to stay up top as they all went around, and still 2x2 for majority of the front of the field, but Garrett Maines still out in front. Kenny Brady might have a chance to get clear and jump up here into turn 3.
Not quite. Davenport doing just enough, pushing his PGR teammate to keep them pinned, keep Brady pinned, that is. Top side behind them, kind of disorganized. Huerta, Walker, Osmanoff, Galati. Those 3 Jack Shack cars, now they, well, maybe they were building a run because now they all step out. Jack Shack to the outside, pins Davenport and Westmoreland middle because Galati goes with the 3 JSR cars and all of a sudden complete throw the parachute out the back of those 2 PGR cars. How much of a run will Huerta and company get? I don't know because now Maines jumps up to block the middle. Huerta, they got a massive surge coming down the Alabama Gang super stretch.
Yeah, Garrett saw that though. He said, I don't think so, but this is going to be a really tough hold here for Garrett Maines because they are absolutely flying on this third lane. Joe Huerta all but clear, but Brock Westmoreland is not going to let it happen, not yet. Garrett jumps back down to the inside. That allows Joe Huerta to jump down to the middle, and that was a really, really good piece of execution right there from Chris Walker and the rest of his team to try to get their teammate Joe Huerta out in front. Trevor Osmanoff and the 23 are going to fade back as Joey Galati dives in behind them as well. They're going to go by the lapper of Dylan Jones now, as this will push the 35 up front. Joe Huerta, though, now moves to second on the outside, and Garrett Maines finds himself back on the bottom.
Yeah, as quickly as that move worked out for Huerta, it instantly evaporated as Brady got up on his bumper, allowed basically that third lane, kind of pinned that middle lane and opened the door for Brady just as Huerta dropped down to then get clear to jump right up and pin Huerta second, but they did get him some track position. Really, all 3 of those cars gained some track position as their 4th teammate is still up here. Devin Ray's been up here the majority of this second run of the race, or excuse me, yeah, second stage of the race, I should say. So as soon as that move worked, it didn't. And now maybe those Jack Shack cars thinking about moving again. They're already starting to peek back out of line. Kenny Brady, Garrett Maines controlling right now. Huerta, was he thinking about a split right there? He may still be thinking about one.
I think he's looking for some air right now. He knows that if he splits, he's probably not going to get a lot of help with just 2 PGR teammates behind him. But, I mean, at the same time, this right here, this is what the Jack Shack would like to see, because if that 4 and 55 decide to go up, boy, that's going to line all 3 of those cars right now behind the 1. Or excuse me, I guess I should say 2 out of the 3, which will make it 3 of those cars on the outside. And then Devin Ray, boy, he has been consistent all night. Still on the bottom, stuck behind Garrett Maines. As Kenny Brady will get clear, he'll jump down. They're going to go by Christopher Carter there into turn 3. But right now, third lane, hold on, this could get a little tricky here. Matthew Baker, they had to go 4 wide for a split second, but I think he was able to duck in line to make it 3 wide. And by the way, since we had a couple more cautions, Dawson, that 5 car was able to get some more repairs done. Looks a lot better than it does earlier, but you wonder if maybe Matthew Baker's starting to think about setting up to go to the front.
Well, I was going to mention earlier under our stage caution that he'd been really quiet basically all night. Since that NBG moved to the outside on lap 5, he had really been pretty silent towards the back of the field. Very, very out of character for Matthew Baker, the winningest driver last season and a guy we see at the front all the time. Well, tonight his average running position's got to be somewhere outside the top 15, because that's where he's been since that early caution. And now he's kind of starting to feel it out. Wonder if maybe he got some damage in the opening caution that kind of dissuaded him from racing. But now he's starting to try to make something happen. He's starting to try to get back to the front. Man, what in the world? The top lane just disintegrated. That's because Joe Huerta took a left out of line right in behind Garrett Maines and dropped in front of his teammate.
Yeah, certainly mixed some things up, and I think he was maybe hoping that there was going to be enough momentum for him to push Garrett and himself clear and jump back up. It's close, as Brock Westmoreland's still trying to get there here. If the one pushes the other one off into the corner here enough, it might be, can Joe Huerta get clear? No, he can't. Kenny Brady's going to be able to hold even. They stay side by side, but look what this does, Dawson. That now puts that 1 car in front of his teammate, Devin Ray. And don't forget, we're starting to get close to that first green flag pit stop, which I think we would expect right around lap 20.
Yeah, and that team, the Jack Shack, is in probably the best spot of anybody here to make that initial green flag pit stop. Now, those 2 cars further back, Walker and Osborne, have to find spots in the bottom lane, but once they do, that team's in a really good spot for this opening green flag pit stop. And now Walker does. 3 of the 4 down on the bottom. Osborne trying his best to get a spot in line. He's going to try to fade as close to his teammates as they can. And if he gets in anywhere close to Chris Walker, man, the Jack Shack running such a great race tonight. And now if they can execute on pit stops, they're going to be in a really good position.
Yeah, and by the way, I do apologize. I meant to say 20 laps to go so that we don't get anybody confused. And see, right now it says 24 to go, so they should really start to be getting lined up here, which most of them are, and then a couple of them that aren't are certainly trying to find spots right now. Trevor Osmanoff going to try to drop in here in front of Chase Mistretta. Not going to happen. Davenport still has nowhere to go, as Brock Westmoreland stuck as the only support for Kenny Brady on the outside right now. And man, if you're Garrett Maines here, what do? I think he's trying to help out this 35 a little bit, but he knows that he can't really move
trouble.
up. Oh,
Mike Davenport got turned by Trevor Osmanoff midway through the field. Green flag's going to stay out. Now it's not. Up the track comes Evan Carlbon, and that's going to draw the caution flag.
And a big hit for Evan Carlbon.
As pit stops happen.
Oh, he's going to tag the wall again. As you talked about, as pit stops happen here, doesn't look like anybody actually went down. Oh, well, Jeff Merck did. It looks like Jared Miller did as well. Not sure if that was part of trying to miss the wreck or if they just slid down. And looks like Evan Carlbon gets the worst of this. We saw Davenport look like initially he almost held on to it, Dawson, but then right at the end there just couldn't quite do it. Once Evan Carlbon came along, they got together, and that's where what looked like a big moment and a heck of a save unfortunately turned into our 4th caution here of the night.
That was a tough break. Both those cars, Osborne and Davenport, were trying to find spots in the bottom lane and got hooked up together odd in the middle of turns 3 and 4, just got very disconnected, and unfortunately it sent the 55 for a spin. Then I thought we were going to save it. I thought the green flag was going to stay out. It's going to really make that pit stop chaotic, but unfortunately Carlbon gets tagged a little further back in the melee that happens as guys trying to miss it, and he comes right back up on the speedway and tags the outside wall. And tough break there for all those involved and for the guys that happen to be unfortunate enough to be coming down pit road right as that wreck started, didn't have a chance to dive back onto the racetrack.
You saw Trevor Osmanoff not trying to turn the 55 by any means there. He was actually trying to just help him out, give him a little push, but we're down in the corner and he got him just a little bit offset. And you see Evan Carlbon here, he lets off, sees the wreck, he's off the gas, and just unfortunately as he tries to go low, just barely gets clipped right at the end. And man, that was a big hit. And then the second impact here kind of finishes the deal as he's on the brakes, but just not enough. And That hit into the inside wall, I think, kind of finished the job for Evan Carlbon, so that'll bring his night to an end after dodging some wrecks early, so a tough break for the 71 and the 55, but Davenport, good news for him as he'll escape without any damage, and just a loss of track position, and maybe a little bit of a hurt ego right now as well, as I know he didn't appreciate that from Trevor Ausenoth, but again, didn't look like anything intentional there, just maybe a little bit of a push gone wrong.
Yeah, it didn't look like anything intentional to me either. I don't see any reason why it would be. Both guys were, again, just trying to find spots in line, and you're pushing the issue a little bit at that point. I think they'd fallen back and fallen back and fallen back enough that, okay, I'm tired of doing that. Let's try to go forward and find a spot, and unfortunately got a little too overzealous with the push and got him out of shape, and then it ends up in a wreck for Evan Carlbon. That's a tough break for the 71 car, and now puts us in a very interesting position on fuel mileage.
Yes, still not going to be able to make it all the way, so we'll still have a pit stop, but Garrett Maines up front is being scored as your leader, Devin Ray in second, Joe Herta third, Kenny Brady fourth, and Chris Walker currently rounding out your top 5. All right, we're going to go take a quick break, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. We'll be right back at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
Three by three.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, race 4 of season 5 for RMR's Tuesday Night Thunder. It's going to be 20 laps to go. And for the restart, it's Garrett Maines and Devin Ray up front. The Jack Shack still has 3 out of their 4 drivers in the top 5. Here we go. Green flag is back in the air, and it's a good restart for both cars on the front row. Garrett Maines and Devin Ray both get a really good jump. Question is, where's the help going to get to first? The 35 of Kenny Brady didn't get quite as good of a restart as Joe Herta did, but Devin Ray backed it up just a little bit through 1 and 2. They get locked up. The bottom's locked up. Garrett, if he gets clear, you know he's going to jump up in front of the 2. How are things going to shuffle out down the backstretch?
As a tight clear by Garrett Maines, and Devin Ray's able to lift just enough that he can get on the bumper, and everybody A-OK so far. 8 rows of cars on the outside up front. For the back, it singles out with guys that came to pit row with 1 to go. Now, not sure how much that's going to really do in terms of fuel mileage, but for now at least, provides you a little bit of an extra lap of stability, an extra lap of window, that is, that you can go and maybe pit a lap later, maybe just do that much less in your car and maybe have a faster pit stop as such. So we'll see what that does to the guys that pit with 1 to go. Up front now, oh man, the pushes are really getting aggressive now up on that top lane. Maines, Ray, and Brady, they were all 3 all over the place right there on the entry to 1. It allows Huerta and Walker, the teammates, to work to the lead as the field works off the banking and onto the back straightaway.
The pay window isn't open just yet because they are not good to go on fuel. Remember, they can only get about 16 laps, and you figure even if you saving 3 to 4 laps, that's a pretty big ask. I don't see anybody in this field really being able to make that happen, especially with how much the pace is being pushed by these leaders. So I think they'll continue to race it out here because right now it's a battle for track position to set yourself up for that final pit stop. But again, the pay window doesn't really open until we come out for that final pit stop. Now, Dawson, you said it made it interesting in terms of strategy, and you're right, because now you ask yourself the question, does anybody pit early? Because that window opens in about, I would say, 3 to 5 laps to play it safe, but they can make 16 laps on fuel, which technically could take them 4 to go. So the big question, I guess, is when do you make that pit stop?
The common answer we've been getting from guys is they're going to pit as late as possible. And I mean, yeah, it is what it is now. I remember a time a few months ago when pitting early, right when the window opened, actually worked. It benefited you if you were able to get out with teammates or able to get out with guys you're acquainted with. Then you could really run good lap times and run faster than the leaders and actually flip the track position, flip the race on its head for when it got to those pit stops. But haven't seen anybody do that in really 2 to 3 to 4 months. So wouldn't be surprised these guys run it till inside 5 to go. And at that point, I mean, it's a mad dash. You're on pit road, you're in for half a second to fuel, you're off pit road, and you're back out on the racetrack trying to do it for the win. So going to be interesting, but it definitely makes it interesting, though, because that window kind of grows a little bit. You have a little bit more flexibility for when you make that pit stop.
It will be interesting indeed. Still 2 by 2 as they work through the banking in 1 and 2 up front. Garrett Maines leads over Joe Huerta. Devin Ray, first laps that he's really had a chance to lead here tonight. Kenny Brady doing all the pushing now. As you see the 27, he's been up front all night. That's Brian Bassard making his return here tonight. And then Chase Mastretta, we talked about his top 3 finish last week. He's looking to follow it up with a top 10, potentially a top 5 finish here tonight. Bit of a checkup further back, and there was some stacking up right there around J.R. Miller, Brock Westmoreland, and that was almost another caution.
Yeah, a lot of close calls tonight, a lot of near misses where you kind of hold your breath for a second and think, oh man, they're going to wreck again, but no, they keep it together. Now out back, starting to see a couple guys come to the front. Now really a couple more PGR teammates jump out there. Matthew Baker, Matt Lee, and Christian Martinez, I believe, are the cars out further back. And the third lane starts to grow, and now with 16 to go, you almost press that go button, but it's so hard as a driver because you know that pit stop looms. You want to get track position, but you also know you're going to have to pit either way, so it's kind of it's a balance in your head. Do I go? Do I stay here? Do I just be conservative? And you end up hesitating. What's the decision these guys up front are going to make? Oh, man, big moment there for Devin Ray on row 2. He almost got wicked loose in front of the field.
Yeah, and for J.R. Miller and Brock Westmoreland, this kind of reminds me of what we saw guys like Daniel Eberhardt, Dylan Jones. They like to do this when they feel like maybe everybody else is thinking about that pit stop. That's when they try to go to the front. But with the amount of aggression we're seeing up front, maybe seems a little bit early. And what this is going to do, Dawson, I think, is we're going to get right back to a lot of 3-wide racing, probably for about the first 4 to 6 rows. We've still got some blocking going on up front. Devin Ray is trying to find a way around Garrett Maines. He's finally going to do so as he made his way back down to the inside. Kenny Brady, he's now going to look 3 wide, and we're going to be 3 wide for the lead down the back.
Man, huge pushes up top. J.R. Miller and Brock Westmoreland, those were some massive shoves to the back of Kenny Brady, and they got him all the way to the front, but it stalled those lanes to the point that now 3, maybe 4 will get clear here on the bottom side of the racetrack, and it's all Jack trouble. Mastretta, Ward out of shape, Velicki out of shape. They're going to wreck. Kenny McCullough goes around. Is this going to draw the caution? No, I don't think it will. McCullough may just save that race car.
He's not quite going to save it. I mean, he keeps it off the wall, but unfortunately, that's enough of a spin that he's going to lose this draft and lose a whole lot more as he'll just make that pit stop. That's a good call for Ken McCullough Jr. While you're slow, I mean, he ended up in a good area for it. Just make that pit stop, take the fuel. He'll be good to go on fuel, but he's still going to need a caution now, and he has to hope that he doesn't lose a lap before they get one. Back to 2x2 up front after all the chaos, all the disorganization, and the near miss there for Chase Mastretta, who had a heck of a save off of turn 4. And so with just 14 laps to go, going to be 13 when they cross the line. Still no signs yet of really anybody necessarily lining up for that pit stop per se, but also, Dawson, this lead pack it's trimmed down pretty tremendously. We've got a lot of single file cars trying to catch up, but right now Trevor Osronoff marks the back of this lead group. Looks like Baker's close enough that he should tag on, and then I think Ethan Eckert, Joey Galati will as well. John Ward, Matt Lee, and then this second group that's really formed up are all within reach of each other, that they can catch up eventually. However, if this first group makes that pit stop now, Dawson, that may help them out.
Yeah, I would almost think about it if I was this first group, but I don't think they will. It's not a lot of teammates. You have 3-4 Jack Shack cars, a few PGR cars, and that's really it in terms of teammates. So I don't think they will. I would if I was them, but I don't think they'll do so. Group back there led by Matthew Baker. They're catching back up. Another group behind them led by Matt Lee. They're catching back up. So I agree. I'd do it right now. Let's see if these guys do it all 4. Maybe they understand. They don't. They're going to run around another lap and continue to this pace the field, and that's going to bring everybody back to about Richard Elliott in 23rd. So as beneficial as that would be, these guys apparently don't ever listen to our advice. They're going to stay on the racetrack with 12 to go and continue just to run 2x2.
Well, again, it's a little bit trickier, of course, we know when they're in the car versus what all we get to see up here. But, I mean, if you're the second group, you're saying, no, don't listen to them. Stay out, because you said it, Dawson. Now they're going to catch back up, and this is going to make what maybe was a 10 to 15 car lead pack back to nearly a 20 to 25 car lead pack. But Kenny Brady, he has been looking really good in the second half of this race since he got to the front of the field. And oh man, that was not a good look. Now he's going to get split. Got to hold off. Oh man, still 3 wide. They're all trying to hold it. Now the 35 will finally hold it in the middle as he's going to get split down low and up top. And boy, just as I said how good of a job he was doing, that was not a good decision there. It wasn't clear. Tried to make the move and paid the price for it.
Well, and that's one where I think if he was a guy that raced a little bit more often, maybe a more well-known guy even here on Tuesdays, that maybe somebody cuts him a break there. But because he is not as familiar, obviously Chris Walker and those Jack Shack boys, they're not as willing to just move over and lift and risk getting their cars wrecked because of that move. Man, another big move by Kenny Brady. Boy, I'm not sure he's making too many friends here at the front of the field right now. Jared Miller going to bail out on the bottom. Man, this is chaos up front right now. Guys going left, right. And look who comes out in front. Maines, and guess who? Matthew Baker is up front now.
Yeah, you almost knew, right? It's just one of those drivers that you think to yourself, no way he can get back to the front right. And he says, all right, well, watch this. And now that Matthew Baker's got back up to the front, that's going to be another tough contestant for everybody to deal with. But Kenny Brady, you said it, man. He is aggressive right now, but it's paying off.
Man,
and yeah,
big one.
He's trying to find a way around these two, but they're not having it. Baker is holding them off. Garrett's following to stay in front of Matthew Baker. Finally, those two are going to stick down low. And here comes Kenny Brady and Devin Ray up top. Garrett will now look for a block. Will Kenny Brady try to split him off at 2?
Yeah, he will, but Matthew Baker, they're pretty lucky right there, Ward Garrett and Matthew Baker, because that bottom lane was not very organized, and Garrett was able to just drop right back down. Man, Kenny Brady, I mean, he's not made any friends up at the front right now, I don't think. I'm not sure how apt some of these guys are going to be to stay behind him, and now he's got 2 Jack Shack cars behind him. Got to be a little bit safer with the moves now. Does the 35, but Maine jumps right back up to him. Man, this is chaos here at the front. Remember that pit stop coming. The next 6 laps, is he looking to split again? It almost looks to me like he's trying to hang a right. Let's see if he turns left on Garrett here down towards turn 1. He will. Brady to the bottom. Kenny Brady's on a heater right now.
Yeah, and I can't blame him for being aggressive, too. He is most likely one of the drivers that's not necessarily planning on trying to run for the championship. He's just here to run right now, and as a result, that means he needs to get these regular season payouts, or excuse me, the regular season individual race payouts. So if he can win this race, he'll be happy, but just finishing good in points doesn't really do him any good necessarily. So Garrett Maines, he's going to have a tough task here trying to deal with this 35, as Kenny Brady is not going to cut either of those two any breaks. Now Matthew Baker doing all the pushing on the inside. Meanwhile, Devin Ray trying to push the one clear up top, and You know, Dawson, that fuel window's open. I wouldn't be surprised if at this point, every lap we start to see a couple drop off, but if they decide to wait until the end of the fuel window, then they're going to still need to start thinking about dropping down here over the course of the next few laps, because I think with about 4 to go, they're all going to have to bring it down to the pits.
I mean, yeah, we're well close to the window now, so I would not be surprised to see some of these guys start dropping down, but no signs of it yet. They're still trying to gain some track position. Chris McCullough, Matt Lee, Chase Mastretta, guys that earlier weren't trying to do that. Now they're starting to try to do that and get to where they can. Mastretta's going to drop in. He says, I'm good with this. I'm satisfied with where I'm at. I'm going to drop in line. We're going to get set for pit stops. He's going to let Matt Lee in front of him. Now all of a sudden, 3 cars on the outside only here with 8 laps to go. Let's see. They might get some grace of some guys pitting. I don't think it'll be for about another 2 to 3 laps. We'll see as the field works its way. Off 4, pit stops, the hypercars, and a couple of others.
Yeah, further back, you can see a couple of them peeling off here. Can they all get in clean? That's the big question, the big ask here. Oh, one of them's going to overshoot it. Joey Galati with a big-time lockup as he slides into the grass on pit entry. Oh, man, that's going to bring Joey Galati's chances to an end here now without a caution, as that will be a penalty and a ton of lost time. Landon Velicky in the 62, he gets into his box clean, as does the Hyper Motorsports crew, along with, I believe that's Mark Math as well. I'm not sure if he's still stuck in the pits from the damage earlier. I would assume he is. Yeah, sure enough, Mark Math right now, yep, just sitting in the pits, as I believe he is retired from the night. There goes Jared Haynes into the pits, and Herbert, not sure if he got a penalty or still stuck in the pits, but the 87 will not roll off. Here comes the leaders. See if they make a stop this time.
Yep, some of them will. Baker, Eckert, Westmoreland, Lee, Boussard, Mastretta, and I believe that might be
Jones.
Dylan Jones.
Oh, man. That was a big hit for Dylan Jones into the inside wall. Sorry to cut you off, Dawson, but, man, he locked it up and was almost at a 45-degree angle, and he went straight into that inside wall. I don't think he's on the lead lap, but boy, that was a big hit for the 11. Lucky that didn't maybe shoot him back up onto the racetrack. He just locked the brakes, and then once he started to just steer it, it just wouldn't go for him here. Watch this. This is a bizarre look for Dylan Jones, who usually doesn't make a mistake like that. Man, that was a big impact for Jones.
Tough break again, man. Bad night goes worse for Dylan Jones. That's just as he'd recovered his night, too. Tough break for him. And all right, last round of pit stops I would expect to be right here with 6 laps to go. Let's see if the rest of the leaders peel. They all will. That's the Jack Shack cars. Kenny Brady, Chris McCullough, Garrett Mange, Josh McCullough. Further back, Davenport, Miller, and one other car along with them. Couldn't quite tell which car that was that came in at the back end of that lead group.
That was our cleanest round of pit stops, too, the biggest group. But, again, the cleanest pit stop. I don't think anybody got a penalty, at least not from the general look of it. And they're all going to race back out here. And this will be, once they get reorganized, when that pay window starts to open. So these next couple laps, Dawson, are going to be crucial. You're going to have guys from the pit stops that they already made trying to catch up. These leaders are going to be trying to hold on. And I think this is where we're going to see things get really, really chaotic. And guess who? Kenny Brady, he beats Garrett Maines out of the pits. Chris Walker lines up in 3rd, and he's got a couple of Jack Shack teammates behind him.
Yeah, and all 4 of the Jack Shack cars here are inside the top 7 that have come off pit road, and that's going to be awfully interesting. Group coming in behind them, though. Where does this group pan out with the leaders? Not quite going to get to them. They're just now coming off 2. How fast can this group with the Jack Shack cars, Maines, McCullough, Brady, all get up to speed? I don't know if it'll be fast enough to hold off, but it might just be. Wow. Great stops by the last round, but here come Baker and Lee and company on the outside.
Yeah, something's going to have to stop that momentum up top. We'll see if Garrett makes a move. I think he will. Watch this one car once Matthew Baker gets a little bit closer to see if he jumps to the outside here. Looking for the race-winning move. There he goes. Will Matthew Baker stick with him here? This is going to be coming to 4 laps to go. No, he won't. He jumps out. Looks like the 04 Lee will not follow. Matthew Baker up top 3 wide, but he's got no help.
Oh, man, Matthew Baker, that's killer. He wanted some help, didn't get it. No dice, and that's because a couple of the Nightmare cars in the middle lane, Mastretta and Lee, probably saying, nope, not going to happen tonight. You're going to the outside. You're going to get to split by yourself and try to figure out a move from further back. Maines, Brady on the front row. Behind them, it kind of starts to get interesting, man. Those Jack Shack cars, for the most part, got pinned on the inside back to about Devin Ray. Ray and Osmond middle, but Walker and Huerta, their bet is almost made here with 4 to go.
And remember, we've got to make it all the way to the white flag for this race to be official. Kenny Brady jumps up. Will Garrett decide
to... J.R. Miller out the back, and the caution flag's going to come out. Miller gets turned, goes down to the apron, and a quick trigger caution out back.
And J.R. Miller, I don't see any damage on that car, but Caution did fly. The 78, yeah, looks pretty clean from everything we can see. I don't even see any other drivers that were involved yet. We'll go back and look at this immediately, as I'm curious as to what exactly went wrong here. Watch this here. That's just pushed in the corner. Gone wrong for Joshua McCullough. Turns the 0 of Richard Elliott down into the 78 of J.R. Miller, who gets sideways, goes onto the apron here. Let's see, is there any more contact? No, there's not, and I agree, Dawson. You know, I'm going to assume that that was an iRacing triggered caution, because if not, yeah, that's pretty premature there, and that I hate to say it because I know it's a tough job. Believe me, I'm not trying to, you know, say that it's a bad job at any call here. It's just, this is just unfortunately not the right call if this was, for some reason, an admin throwing caution to throw it that quick when the 78 was off the racing surface. And, I mean, he saved it just as quick as he lost it. And a good save for J.R. Miller. He'll lose some track position, but now this is going to set us up for one of those crazy restarts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it might have been just an average iRacing caution, judging by how quick it came out. As soon as Miller was sideways on the racetrack, it came out. So that's going to be my guess there. And an unfortunate break. We were setting up for a pretty good finish right there. But all right, now we're going to rack him back up in typical Superspeedway fashion. We're going to have some overtime. And now look at all these guys dip into the apron. Fuel mileage coming into play. A lot of guys took just enough to get to the end, took a splash, and didn't anticipate this green-white checkered finish, and now have to save some here under the caution flag.
Yeah, and they don't like this caution either, because they'd be telling you right now, if they knew there was going to be a caution, they would have just sat there, took 4 tires, full fuel. I mean, why not? But instead, now they're forced to kind of save a little bit here into overtime. So we'll see what happens, but up front, Kenny Brady leads the way. Chris Walker on the outside. It'll be Garrett Maines back in third. Boy, that's a big break for Chris Walker here, Dawson. He's got a huge opportunity to potentially win this race based off where he lines up. And, you know, assuming that the leader gets lane choice, if you're Kenny Brady, I almost think maybe you take the top here and try to pin, well, I guess he's going to be pinned to the bottom either way. I almost like the idea of trying to take the top here if you're Kenny Brady and pinning that one of Garrett Maines as far back as you can, because if you give Garrett a chance to get to the front, he's going to find a way. And I think with him being second on the inside here, no matter how he lines up, he's going to push whoever's leading that lane and himself clear so that he can jump up unless that outside's able to somehow fend it off.
I think he's going to be able to figure it out either way. I'm not sure the lane choice matters. I think you have a little bit more control over how well that bottom lane rolls as if you start on the bottom, because as soon as he gets it on the nose of Chris Walker, he can jump out of line. Jump up on the top side, jump up on the nose of Walker, and then try to get that line to roll enough that maybe Maines gets buried halfway down the backstretch, third in line, and then all of a sudden now you're a little bit, I won't say home free, but you're at least separated from that one machine. And I don't know. I don't know if the top's going to roll well enough on a restart to justify taking it. I'd probably just take the bottom and maintain the control that I have over how well that bottom lane rolls.
Well, remind you of the overtime rules real quick. It'll be, again, a 2-lap shootout. And how it'll be set up is if we make it to the white flag, this race is official. However, if we get a caution on that first lap, we'll rack them up and try it again. By the way, I do want to say again a shout out and thank you to everybody that's tuning in here tonight. Hope that you are enjoying your Tuesday night as we approach what's going to be Wednesday morning here in just about half an hour. As it's good to see everybody in the chat here tonight. A couple of shout outs. Looks like Devin Ray was in here, Tyler Vickery, Todd Clark, Mark Math, David Flanagan, and Garrett Caswell, who said, sorry about the wreck earlier. My wheel isn't that great and the car got loose. Wasn't anything I could do. Pretty much gone when I tried to save it. Yeah, it's kind of what it looked like, Garrett. And hey, don't feel too bad, because I can promise you we saw plenty of that same exact thing during the Summer Slam and during a couple recent weeks, even in Tuesday Night Thunder with different drivers. So certainly an issue with these Xfinity cars, Dawson, that everybody's kind of still getting used to, something that had never been an issue before and played a little bit of havoc here tonight. But man, this restart, especially with Kenny Brady leading the way, this is going to be one of the few times I feel like where it ends up getting broken up, where you don't have really any teammates working together, and it's just a mad scramble of everybody trying to fight for the win. But I mean, at least for now, the Jack Shack cars, they are lined up on the outside. Chris Walker and Joe Herta, if they can stay there, I think that they have a great shot of getting Chris Walker this win.
Completely agree. Now, again, the interesting part's going to be, does Kenny Brady get clear by the time we get to the Alabama Gang Super Stretch? And if he does, I mean, you saw it earlier, throwing blocks, turning left, going to the bottom, turning back to the right, going back to the top. I mean, he was throwing it all over the racetrack earlier. Now, he's 2 laps away from his first ever Tuesday Night Thunder victory. If he was doing that with 8 laps to go, imagine what he's going to do now with 2 laps to go. This could make you hold your breath here. And now if you're Chris Walker and Joe Huerta, it's gut check time. If he does that, and he throws a block on you and starts to kind of get a little bit wild, do you just go to the safer barrier and say, you know what, if we get help, cool. If not, you know, it is what it is. Maybe hope your teammate comes from about 4 rows back and helps you out. I don't know, but man, the way Brady's been racing tonight, I just don't know. I don't know how long he's going to have a ton of help here at the front of the field before somebody yanks a right, gets out of line, tries to get around him, because he's been throwing some huge aggressive moves late in this race.
Yeah, and remember, I mean, it's been a while since I've said this, but in my opinion, and I feel like most people would agree generally, the idea of a block, especially here at the end of these races, especially on that last lap, is if you're going to make a block, you go up, you have to expect that that guy coming behind you will not lift. If he hits you not lifting and you're able to keep that car straight, it's a good block, and that driver should push. If you get hit when you jump up full speed from that block and you can't hold on to it, it was a bad block. We're getting ready to find out, but it's going to be 2 laps to go. Who's going to win the money here tonight? We're getting ready to find out. Pace car makes a left turn. Field back in the hands of Kenny Brady and Chris Walker. Brady trying to get his first win, as is Chris Walker. Can the Jack Shat find victory lane here tonight? Green flag is back in the air at Talladega.
Now you watch for how well that help comes together. The top lane somewhat connected, but Maines is already tandem on the back of Kenny Brady. And as we've seen all night, it's going to roll Brady to the lead, and quickly. And now what does Kenny Brady do? Does he hang bottom? Does he go top? Garrett Maines may get clear if Brady doesn't make a move here. No, he will not. But man, that was awfully close. Now here comes the top side. Brady, do you think about blocking? Not going to have a chance. Walker back to the right elbow. Maines pushing really hard. If it stays where it is, Garrett Maines is going to get clear. Kenny Brady, it's gut check time. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to let Garrett Maines get clear? Or are you willing to let him get up in front of Chris Walker here in 3?
Well, Garrett is not going to lift here. He's going to be pushing that 35 through the corner, and it'll be interesting to see what Garrett does here, because at some point he's either going to have to save a little bit of temp to make it all the way to the finish, or he's going to have to find a way to make something happen. Up top, though, the 23 and the 1 still hanging as strong as they can, but here we go. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega.
Oh, man, Mistretta, that was close, third in line, and that's going to allow Garrett Maines, I think, to clear on the bottom. Kenny Brady, again, it's gut check time. He throws the block topside and stays on the bumper of Garrett Maines. Incredible work by Kenny Brady. Maines going back up. Brady going to have to block again. Can he do it? They're going to split him. Maines is split. We're 4 wide for the lead. They're going to wreck out back into 3. It's Chris Walker with the lead.
And Chris Walker looking for his first win. He's still got a teammate behind him. The outside's trying to get lined up. Joe Herta gets another big push from Chase Mistretta. Will Joe try to make a move on his teammate off of 4 for the final time? No, he doesn't. Here comes the run. Now he does. The 1 jumps out. Christopher McCullough tries to split. They're going to wreck out back. Now the 23 slides through the grass. Who gets to the line first? Joe Herta steals it at Talladega.
Well, I'll say this much. Not a wise move to hang a right on your teammate. I mean, I'm sure they're communicating about that, but oh, you almost cost you both the race there in 3 and 4 by jumping out of line. It works out in the end, and man, what a statement tonight for the Jack Shack. A 1-2 for that group. That's going to be a huge momentum booster.
Indeed it will. You know what, Dawson? I wonder if the reason he made the move is because he was at the point in temps where he felt like he was going to felt like, man, I'm struggling here tonight, but if he felt like he was going to blow the motor, and at that point, you know, you got to make that decision, right? You're either just going to blow it up pushing your teammate, or, you know, in this case, he thought, well, if I jump out and Christopher McCullough pushes me, we're still both guaranteed a good finish. Maybe I can get a win, and that way I don't have to worry about blowing up. Either way, it works out, and celebrations on here for Joe Herta. But, boy, I tell you what, that was one of the most interesting last laps that we have seen in a while. And I mean, Kenny Brady, he did not hold back right there on Garrett Maines, and ultimately you can see how it resulted for both of them. And the Jack Shack, who they just stuck together here for the most part, it worked out really well for them, as there's a move up. Christopher McCullough is going to try to split, nothing doing there. He gets hooked around by his teammate, Joshua McCullough, and then from there, they're wrecking big time out back. And man, it was a good save to be able to drive this thing through the grass to the start-finish line by Chris Walker after almost losing it, and still bringing home that second-place finish. All right, as we go back live, take a look at your finishing results as the celebrations continue for Joe Herta, his first win this season in Tuesday Night Thunder. Chris Walker, his teammate, finishes second. Kenny Brady in third. Matt Lee in fourth with Jared Haynes fifth. Garrett Maines in sixth, the last payout position here tonight. And then you've got Mike Davenport back in seventh. J.R. Miller eighth. John Ward ninth. And Joshua McCullough rounding out your top 10.
Chris McCullough finishes 11th. Christian Martinez back in 12th. Jonathan Herbert 13th. Brock Westmoreland 14th. Brian Bissard in 15th. Danny Barnes 16th. Kenny McCullough in 17th. Richard Elliott 18th. Ethan Eckert 19th. And Trevor Osvernoth rounds out the top 20.
Devin Ray finishes 21st. Matthew Baker 22nd. Landon Veliky in 23rd. Christopher Carter 24th. Chase Mastretta 25th. Joey Galati in 26th. And you've got Heath Joe back in 27th. Mark Von Dell in 28th. Dylan Jones 29th. And Jeff Merck rounding out your top 30.
Evan Carlbon 31st tonight. Mitch Regatas in 32nd. Garrett Caswell 33rd. Mark Math 34th. Michael Triscaro in 35th. Justin Mills 36th. John Mullahan 37th. And Devin Lyons rounds out the 38-car field in tonight's race.
All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. Going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher, Kenny Brady. Dawson Wise stands by with him.
Yeah, hey, Kenny, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
What's up, guys?
Well, an interesting scramble to the end. Really, the last 8 laps for you. We saw you throwing some big moves earlier, and we figured coming to the green flag that if Garrett Maines got clear, it was going to be tough sledding for him to make the pass. You were going to make it tough, and you did. Not once, but twice. Man, he threw some big moves on the last lap in your first time here on a Tuesday. Take us through that scramble to the end.
Yeah, it was all kind of crazy. I don't do this like plate stuff a lot. Like I don't do all the plate series, so I didn't really know what to do with 2 to go. A couple of my friends were telling me to block high or block low, and I just didn't want to go high and no one go with me because, as you guys saw, when Garrett went high on the back stretch, everyone kind of left him. So I was just trying to I followed him up out of 2 and then followed him back down, and then everyone split him, and I was just lucky enough to still have a push in the 3. So yeah, I was just trying to maintain the lead, and I did all the way until in the 3. Everyone kind of went every which way, and like I said, I was lucky enough to have a push there at the end and still managed to finish on the podium.
Well, yeah, 1 for 1 in podiums here in Tuesday Night Thunder for you. And look, what did you see? What's your initial reactions, your initial thoughts after coming off the racetrack and racing with these guys for 60 really aggressive laps?
Yeah, it was funny. I messaged my friend Matt probably like a minute before qualifying started. So I had no plans to race it, and I liked it. I mean, it was really fun. There was a lot of wrecks early, but we kind of cleaned it up there towards the end, besides that late caution. So I enjoyed it. It's definitely fun when you're on the winning money side, I guess. It's not fun when you wreck. So that's why I don't do them a lot. But I got lucky tonight in my debut. And if I am free, which I'm usually not on Tuesday nights, but if I am free, I'll definitely come out and race.
Well, we look forward to having you back. It's a 3rd place finish for you tonight. So before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Just Matt Lee. I appreciate him giving me the link so I could race tonight, and Ron Morris, of course, for hosting, and he accepted me like right at the last second, sent me a league invite and everything. So just thanks to those guys for letting me race, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast.
We appreciate you talking to us here for a second. Congratulations on the podium finish tonight. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, guys.
All right, and now that will bring us to your 2nd place finisher here tonight. For the Jack Shack, it's Chris Walker. Chris, this is Austin the Booth. You got a copy?
Yeah.
Well, you bring home a 2nd place finish. It's a 1-2 for the Jack Shack, but man, what were you thinking when you came off of turn 4 and you saw Joe Herta jump to the high side?
It was either that or blow up. I mean, it was like 285 or something, so I told him to take it. But yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly did. And now that you saw your teammate capture his first win this season, you come so close. And, I mean, how important of a night was this? You guys led a bunch of laps in terms of being at the front of the field. You had the whole team up there for quite a bit of the race. And to bring home a 1-2, does it kind of feel like a momentum shift in the season?
Yeah. It's just, you know how this shit is, man. You got to have a lot of luck. But it also does help a lot when, you got teammates to help you. So we'll go to next week and try it again.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, great run here tonight. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Obviously, got to thank the Jack Shack. If it wasn't for them, none of this shit would be possible for us. So huge thanks to Devin, Trev, Joe, myself, and we'll give it a go again. Appreciate you guys.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, man, thanks for talking to us here tonight. We certainly appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good.
Oh, didn't mean to cut him off, but yeah, you too, Chris. We appreciate you talking to us. And now that is going to lead us to your winner here tonight. Dawson Wise stands by with Joe Herta.
Yeah, hey, Big Joe, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, man. What's up?
Well, man, look, first of all, obviously we saw the celebration. We know you guys have been waiting on this one for a long time, both you as an individual, but also you guys as a team. The kind of breakthrough moment tonight felt like tonight. A dominant performance by the Jack Shack crew tonight. All four of the cars inside the top 5 at one point. You come away with a victory. First and foremost, how are you feeling right now to be a Tuesday Night Thunder winner?
I'm feeling great. This is about like my first win. Obviously first win in this series, but I think on like the bigger money side, Super Speedway racing. So I'm feeling really, really good. Big confidence booster. It was coming. We were firing all cylinders for weeks. We were just waiting for that win to come through, and finally it came.
Well, we kind of seen the team run better and better and better over the past few weeks, and you're right. It kind of felt like firing on all cylinders the past couple weeks, but tonight, from start to finish, just felt like everything went right for you guys. Speak to the effort tonight as a team. Speak to the growth you guys have gone through as a team over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're in a Discord call every single night trying to figure out what we can improve, just work better as a team, and it's paying off. I just got to thank all of them, Devin, Trevor, Chris, all the boys back in the Jack Shack. They've helped me out tremendously. I was not very good at this in the start, and I made a lot of enemies, and probably still am, but hey, now we're running up the top 5 and getting wins now, and that's where I feel like we belong.
Well, it's a 1-2 finish for you guys tonight, but you are the one in victory lane. So before we let you go, you're playoff bound. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
All the Jack Shack boys. I feel bad for Chris because obviously I wanted that win for him, but I told him middle of 3 and 4 that I was 275. I was going to nuke if I didn't jump out. I just wanted a good finish for us, and worked out that we got that 1-2. So just obviously thanks to them, and thanks to you guys for putting on a really good broadcast. It's fun to watch every single day.
We appreciate you talking to us, and congratulations on a monumental victory and a big night for the Jack Shack. Go enjoy it, go celebrate with your teammates, and we will see you next week.
I appreciate it. See you, boys.
All right, and that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight. Joe Herta is your race winner here tonight at Talladega. Well, 4 races in Dawson, and already we have seen a little bit less dominance from one particular driver so far this season, and as a result, that's made the racing that much more exciting for what to expect at least next week. Now that Joe Herta, of course, has himself locked in, we already know Garrett Maines, he got himself locked in last week. We'll see who can do it next week, but as for tonight, a little bit more wrecking than what we saw, but overall, I think the finish made up for it.
Oh, it absolutely did. 4 races, 4 winners, by the way. I believe we have 4 guys locked in 4 different weeks. So really insane start to the year, an insane last lap, and so many storylines coming out that last lap. Most notably, though, again, you cannot state it enough. Tonight felt like a coming out party. Not really a coming out party, but a moment where it all came together for the Jack Shack boys. They get the job done and get it done in style. 1-2 for them. Incredible run and a ton to go into next week. If you thought tonight was exciting, keep coming back, because this series just continues to ramp up as we get closer to the playoffs.
You got that right. Well, that'll do it for me, Austin Green, alongside Dawson Wise here on PGR eSports. Again, we hope that you all enjoyed. Until next time, have a good night.